It's there, beneath the stench of this place. You can sense it.
There are things even you should fear, horseman. Once you were strong, but now you are weak and you are alone.
I can grant you every wish.
Can you restore the balance?
The destroyer knows of your coming. Even now, he moves his legions against you.
Then I'll make this quick.
Helga, to arms!
Slay him!
Perhaps we can strike a deal.
You won't like my terms.
Are you here to play executioner?
Darksiders is a franchise developed by Vigil Games and saw its first game released on January 5th, 2010 for both Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. They also released a PC version later that year. In Darksiders you play as War, one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. You start the game on Earth, where a war between heaven and hell has broken loose. Eventually you get defeated, and when you wake up you get blamed for the war. After this, you set out to find a person who is actually responsible.
You should have concern, my lord. Such a pity.
So, the Chad Council sends only one horseman, even to the past. No, this visit is unsanctioned. In fact, no one knows you're here. Yes, you have overcome many obstacles to stand here before me. But sometimes the hero dies in the end. Ask your brother. Succeed after all. Either way, it will be quite a show.
The second installment of the franchise, set parallel with the first game, was released in 2012. This time you play as Death, the second of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Believing his brother War is innocent, Death sets out to erase the crime War was blamed for, as well as to try to resurrect mankind. After the success of the first game, the expectations were a lot higher, and Vigil Game delivered with another solid game that seemed to be the last one in the series, as the studio shut down early in 2013.
I have learned that I am weak. I have been jealous. I have been wrathful. I have been lazy. All the things the seven sins stand for, and I have paid dearly for it. And I remain stranded on Earth, So when you speak of hope, all hope is lost.
However, in May 2017, Darksiders 3 was announced. It was being developed by Gunfire Studios, which consists of a lot of the former developers at Vigil Games. It's another parallel sequel to the first two games. This time you play as Fury, the third of the Horsemen. She sets out on a quest to destroy all the 7 deadly sins. When it released in November 2018, it was met with a lot of mixed reviews. The main complaint was that the game is too similar to a badly executed Dark Souls game.
If I didn't love you so much, I'd kill you just for something to do. The call? Finally.
Overall, I enjoyed all 3 of the games. It has a surprisingly good story, both the specific story of each horseman and the overlapping story. There's plenty of different enemies to fight and the boss fights are overall very enjoyable. Though at first the games seem to be dark and gritty to the point of taking itself too serious, but in reality it consists of colorful characters and a rich story. The games also have a lot of puzzles, power-ups, weapons and transformations, making it full of content and it never gets stale or predictable. Not everything is positive, of course. The controls aren't always optimal, the voice acting is great most of the time, but the writing isn't always equally interesting. Also, the games switch from being very easy to unforgiving almost at random sometimes. The world doesn't have a lot of details and the enemy AI isn't always amazing. Even though I loved a lot of the characters and the story, it does border on bland at some points of the story. What I enjoyed most about playing the Darksiders franchise again is that it kind of gives me the feeling of playing old games, which Darksiders 1 and 2 are at this point, but Darksiders 3 isn't. However, it feels like playing an old school game without it being outdated. Sure, they're not the most inspirational or impressive experience, but the combat is very satisfying and the puzzles are good and the story is good. And it just kind of plays very nicely. It's just a world where you can lose yourself in for a couple of hours and just kick some ass and just enjoy yourself. Overall, I will put Darksiders in the top 50 tier for the best games list, as it is definitely good and absolutely worth playing, but it's nothing close to groundbreaking.
Pretty.
Come and get it!
Ah! That's mine!
Mistress, not to be a bother, but weren't you supposed to catch Envy?
I did. This talisman.
It's a vessel. Envy used it to hold energies from the rest of the Seven.
It will make a fitting prison for the others once their physical forms have been broken.
If I may, there is a sort of hum emanating from the talisman. That glow.
Will indicate when one of the Seven is nearby. I know.
So wise. You are all that the Council promised, Mistress.
I'm beginning to enjoy the sound of your voice, Watcher.